All right, folks. So hopefully you got a chance to watch the first video. This is going to be a much quicker take on the next two. And something I realized is all of these problems on this specific worksheet are very much the same. You set them up the same. You organize it into two equations, and the equations are going to look very similar. And I'll show you just kind of a quick rundown of these ones since the first one was pretty in depth at 10 minutes. I want to keep this one a little shorter. And I'll solve one using substitution and one using elimination. Okay. So pause it if you need to. But let's read this here. It says, for senior night, the volleyball team sold 850 tickets for the big game. So there's a total. That's a total. And so we should be setting something equal to that. The question is, like, what is that 850 made up of? Right? Okay. And then we have if it costs $5 for pre-sale and $9 at the door. So that's money related. That's money related. At the door, how many of each type were sold after the school raised 6,500 or 6,050? Now that 6,050 is also a total, so I'm going to box the totals. And the reason I do that is if I'm going to create an equation and both sides are equal, the total is going to be one side of the equation, right? And then the question is, what is that made up of on the other side? Okay, so let's define our variables first. Step one, things we don't know are the type of tickets, right? The number of pre-sale. So I'm going to use P for pre-sale. Sorry, let me use a different color here. Let's go P for the number of pre-sale tickets. And then what's the other one? At the door. So I'll say D for the number of tickets at the door. Number of door tickets. So it's a little cheaper to buy your ticket ahead of time, right? If you wait until the day of the event, it's a little bit more expensive. So $9, that's the amount for the money. So there's your variables. And so I'm going to start with the 850 tickets. What is that made up of? Well, it's not made up of money, so all of the other information wouldn't really apply. The 850 is made up of two types of tickets, right? It's the pre-sale tickets, the number of pre-sale plus the number of tickets at the door is 850. So think about it. If there's 850 people in that building in attendance, it's made up of people who bought them ahead of time, bought them at the door. That's all the people at the game. Okay. Everything else is money related. And again, there's a total 6,050. And let me hold on a second. Let me get a different color there for you. All of that info I underlined in green. And so it's 6,050 is the total. What is that made up of? Well, it's made up of the money that we made on the pre-sale tickets, $5 per pre-sale. Again, if I sold 100 pre-sale tickets, you take that times 5. That's $500 made. That's just made up, of course. The P, we don't know how many we actually sold. And same thing with the tickets at the door, $9 per. If I sold 100 of those, I'd take 9 times the number of tickets. That'd be 900, and then I would add everything up. And so think about it, both sides. Now, depending on what P and D are, this is the amount of money we made on the tickets, and this is the total. So both sides are equal. Okay. Or we're looking to make them equal, I should say. Right. All right. And again, we organized our info into money. This is the money equation. And this is the number of tickets equation. Okay. Excuse me. And so that process is going to be the same pretty much for every equation. Look to organize your info into two different equations, define your variables, and now we're ready to go. So I'm going to clear my screen, and I'm going to solve this one using substitution this time. And again, just like the last problem, you could totally do this using elimination, but I'm going to try substitution this time. These numbers are pretty big, unfortunately, to some degree. But I think that's why I'm going to use substitution, just to keep the numbers from getting even bigger. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm just going to solve for P. Doesn't really matter. You can solve for either. But they're both by themselves. That's kind of nice. So it really doesn't matter. They're both already by themselves. So move the D over with the 850. It becomes negative. And so P equals 850 minus D. So I'm going to take, and I did this in my video from yesterday, and I'm going to match that up. So I've got P by itself in this equation. So I'm going to find the P in the other equation, and I'm going to replace it with 850 minus D. So I'm going to have to do a little erasing here. Let me see here. 8. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my 850 minus D, and I'm going to put it right here. And then there you go. P in for P. The 850 is going to go in. And so what we have is we have 5. 5. We're going to replace it then with 850 minus D. And then we're going to do plus 90 equals 6,050. Again, I'm going to have to do a little erasing here. You can certainly pause it and go back, but from there, we would distribute. Numbers are going to get a little big, but and we would just solve from there. Okay, oops, come on now. So here's what I'm going to do for this one. I'm just going to show you the work. There is an answer key here that will be up on Schoology for you. Here you can see they did what I did. And there's the 850 minus Y. They distributed right here. And they solved. And so 450 was the number of at the door tickets. And then you'd plug back in. Okay. Sorry about that. These buttons it's easy to erase everything. All right. I'm just going to run through the setup for the next one and we'll call it. All right. So let's see here. It's talking about 2 types of baseball cards. So right there, I mean, it's going to ask you how many of each type. So there's Topps and Fleer. So T is the number of Topps cards. It's talking about baseball cards. And F is the number of Fleer cards. And it says that each Topps is worth $550. Again, money info. Oh, come on. Money info. Each Fleer is worth $390. The total worth of his cards is 209, and total he has 46 cards. So right there you can organize into the money equation. If his total is 209.80, 209.80. Come on, there we go. 209.80. And it's $550 per Topps and $390 per Fleer. You would add them up, multiply and add it up to equal 209. And then the number of cards would be T plus F equals 46. And right there you could solve either way, substitution or elimination. All right, folks, hope that helped. Take care.